2 days ago, Novo Nordisk ends deal with Hims and Hers over sales of Wegovy copycats. Hims drops to 34%. So a few key takeaways. I'll lob it over to you, Kyle. Novo Nordisk, a prominent pharmaceutical manufacturer of Wegovy, a GLP-1 agonist drug that helps you lose weight, is ending its collaboration with Hims and Hers due to concerns about the telehealth company's sales and promotion of cheaper knockoffs of the weight loss drug Wegovy. Novo Nordisk in April said it would offer Wegovy through several telehealth companies like Hims and Hers to expand access to the blockbuster injection now that it's no longer in short supply in the US. But Novo Nordisk said Hims and Hers has, quote, failed to adhere to the law which prohibits mass sales of compounded drugs and accused the telehealth company of deceptive marketing, putting the patient's safety at risk. So Hims is down, Novo Nordisk is down, are you still down for those options, Kyle? You told me you were going to buy options on Hims and Hers, but did you buy them?
Yeah, so no financial advice here, but yeah, I mean, the investor in me looks at this and says, "Oh, wow, okay, that's an absolute kind of freak out drop in the market that could be a great opportunity to buy a stock like this." But kind of beyond that, make your own decision on that. I'd say there's a couple key elements I'm curious to chat about with you. Thinking about the clinical side, thinking about the business side, and at the end, what does this mean for the humans involved? So, looking at Hims and Hers and looking at this whole Wegovy thing, what sort of timeline? So, at first, in this whole GLP-1 wars, these weight loss drugs. There are different name brands. Wegovy is not the only one. It's definitely a heavily advertised one. People are very aware of it. But what other options are there out there, and are they still available? And David, maybe you can talk a little bit about what is it that Hims and Hers was actually doing around this compounding piece? What did that look like?
Beautiful. Well, for all those curious, Kyle's at Panera. For all those, if you hear all those people giggling and making too much noise,
they just arrived as I started the show, of course.
Tell them to shut up, Kyle. We're trying to film an episode here. But if I heard you correctly, it's, what's the significance of this and the whole compounding story. So just a little bit of background. As a pharmacist, we learn in school that you can't just make a drug or a version of a drug just because you want to. There's something called a patent, which a pharmaceutical company like Novo Nordisk, they pour billions of dollars, often shareholder money, from the stock market into researching a drug. And 9 times out of 10, the drugs fail, but 1 out of 10 actually succeeds. So Wegovy is the one that succeeded. They've spent all this money on it. They're trying to get a return on investment. It's a GLP-1 agonist. It's been shown to promote weight loss through Ozempic, which is another drug we've all kind of heard of at this point. You inject it, helps you lose weight, minimal side effects. But there was a shortage of Wegovy. So in the meantime, Novo Nordisk, after announcing the shortage, companies could compound Wegovy. So they didn't have to go through Novo Nordisk. They could get it through other manufacturers that had the formula or could kind of borrow a similar formula to Wegovy and the drug inside Wegovy and make it themselves for a lot cheaper. Wegovy right now, if you go on Hims and Hers, or not Hims and Hers anymore, but it was $19.99 a month, which is some people's rent or even mortgage payment. But it was a month's worth of Wegovy. They were selling it upwards of $5.99 a month on Hims and Hers during the shortage, including a whole Hims and Hers telehealth kind of care package, different services, they bundled it. But the shortage ended. Novo Nordisk said, all right, no more compounding, but Hims and Hers kept on compounding. So they said, in the name of patient safety, we got to compound it ourselves. We got to add this to it. We got to take this out. But there was a lot of back and forth. Finally, Novo Nordisk said, stop. We're pulling all supplier relationships. You're not allowed to sell Wegovy on our platform. And if you sell any more knockoffs, we're going to press charges. So a lot of things have been happening.
Big shift.
That's the short of it.
Pretty quickly too. It changed within a matter of months since the regulations changed and they were no longer allowed to compound. seems like Novo Nordisk was waiting and watching very, very closely how Hims and Hers would react as the compounding relationships changed and regulations changed there. So on the kind of front lines clinical side of things, so um, there's different routes to get access to it, right? A patient now that was getting it through Hims and Hers could it just go to their main provider in person or some other virtual telehealth type of provider to have their prescription fulfilled, right? What are there, if any, are there concerns around that kind of virtual care? Hey, let me go on a website and get a weight loss drug myself, versus maybe going through your PCP, going that route, um, and any kind of ethical or questions there in terms of how that actually looks for patients on the ground.
Well, telehealth, if you ever go through a telehealth provider, there's a lot of paperwork. And if you read the paperwork, you basically waive any kind of responsibility they have if things go south. They say if you have a medical emergency, call 911. Do not continue with this appointment. If there's anything wrong, it's not our fault. So all liability responsibilities on the patient. That being said, telehealth, if you're doing telehealth and you want Wegovy, you want Ozempic, you're probably pretty healthy, more or less. You're not about to go to the ER. You probably need to lose weight, or you need to lower your blood sugars, or new studies have said GLP-1s having heart disease reduction risk kind of benefits. So GLP-1s, I mean, you could go to your doctor's office. You could go to any doctor's office, tell them about it, and they'll write you a prescription depending on your clinical situation. The real appeal of telehealth was you click a few buttons, you press a few hotkeys, you type in your information. Instead of waiting 6 to 12 months for a PCP appointment, you can see somebody in a matter of minutes, usually hours, but sometimes minutes. So it's always been the speed, it's always been the ease, it's always been the sort of mutual understanding and efficiency of the system, from a few keystrokes to getting your Wegovy in the mail. So that being said, I don't think there was anything unique that Hims and Hers was offering. That from the business perspective, their whole relationship depended on these pharmaceutical manufacturers coming alongside them, offering Wegovy products on their platform, allowing them to kind of direct clients to Wegovy, to Novo Nordisk, to Ozempic, and they'll get a kind of profit margin off of it. Now, without that kind of business advantage, they're in a catch-22. They might, if they continue to do their actions, they might piss off the rest of their manufacturer relationships, but this is a huge revenue stream for them. Not just reselling other people's drugs, but compounding it for much cheaper.
Yeah, it's really a huge revenue stream for both sides, right? Hims and Hers makes the money selling it. Novo Nordisk makes the money from them selling it, but clearly it just wasn't enough. And I'd imagine, if I'm a patient, 35, struggling with weight loss, I'm subscribed to Wegovy today on Hims. That's suddenly changed. I'm going to be getting some emails from Hims and Hers and maybe phone calls that say, "Hey, Wegovy is no longer available." So what are the other options? Well, what's interesting is I saw that some of the justification of why Hims and Hers is saying we're doing this compounding and sort of offering these other ripoffs essentially is, we're doing personalization, right? Like maybe we'll put in some vitamin B12 to the mix or things like that, different dosage for different people, all that sort of thing. I think that, from a clinical perspective, so give me a hot take in 10 seconds or less, is that legit?
Yeah, well, the only generic GLP-1 is liraglutide, also previously known as Victoza. It currently doesn't have FDA clearance for obesity. It's only diabetes. So you might have some issues with your insurance, but it is a much cheaper alternative. I don't have any specific numbers on hand, but I imagine it being generic, that's already a huge cost savings from the insurance side. A lot less kind of hoops to juggle from the branded products. But the good thing about GLP-1s, you have a lot of options. They're kind of interchangeable as far as we know at this point. So you don't have to get the best and the brightest, the shiny, newest Mounjaro or Ozempic. You can look at other options. So I think that's where kind of talking to your local pharmacist, like myself, or at a independent pharmacy. I'm not a big advocate for huge chains. I won't name any names, but your local independent pharmacist, they'll be able to help you out with that. Kind of figure out which options you have in conjunction with your primary care provider.
Yeah, so overall, I think there are lots of other options. Hims and Hers is not necessarily out of business at this point. They just can't sell that one Wegovy, which is a popular one, but there's Ozempic, there's generics, and all these sorts of things that might still be available to folks. The downside is if the other manufacturers all came together and said, yeah, let's actually get off of that platform, then they'd be truly out in the life raft in the middle of the ocean trying to figure that out. But yeah, overall, not maybe as bad as people are making it seem. There are other options, both from an ethical perspective and a patient access. Direct to patient sort of care is available for them when they need it, and also from a business perspective, being able to kind of find those alternatives while still holding true to the research and the investment that Novo Nordisk has made in their specific drug, and kind of being able to demand a high price for the value that went into all of that, potentially for those that want to pay it. Is that all on par?
Yeah, I think it comes down to who has the best evidence. You might say, well, what's the difference between them all? For the most part, all these branded products have GLP-1, which is the key drug in all these weight loss drugs, Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy. It's just that drugs like Ozempic, the branded ones especially, they have brand new evidence supporting obesity and weight loss, while the other ones may not have that same body of evidence. So I'll have to get back to you on which one presented the best weight loss. But scientifically, if you look at the molecules, they're all in the same class. It's just about who has the pieces of paper, the numbers to back up any of the claims and evidence. So I would argue they're interchangeable.
Yeah, interesting. So the GLP-1 wars continue on. Maybe it seems like Hims and Hers sees itself as sort of a battle arena with all these different GLP-1 options on their platform. Novo Nordisk is maybe the Luke Skywalker of the GLP-1 wars. But what's interesting is they're on a sort of a larger warpath. More to talk about later, but it seems like there's about 120 different lawsuits in 34 states against compounding pharmacies, med spas. So the Hims side of it is not the first domino to fall in the pathway. Well, thanks, David. Anything else? I'll let you close us out. This has been interesting. Appreciate it.
No, not at all. If you guys listening have anything to add, anything that you feel like is interesting, insights that you have about this whole war on GLP-1s, if you think it's just dumb or if you think it's all humdy, drop a comment, give us a like, let us know what we should talk about next. If you have any comments or concerns, if you want to come on to the show and give us your ideas and perspective, shoot us an email, daveandkyleshow@gmail.com. Shout out to our sponsor of the show, ASEA, owner and founder of the MyCE app, or the CE app. Go ahead and do all of your continued education management and tracking, ceapp.com. So I hope that got that right, Kyle.
Sounds good. Thanks to you, David.
I was all ad lib. I did not. I did not read anything.
Show. That's why the whole audience arrived as soon as we started.
Yep.
Thanks, David.
All right. Take care, everyone.